When you hear the name Apple, you probably think iPhones and shiny new gadgets. When you hear Microsoft, you probably think Windows computers. And when you hear Google, of course, you think of search. But here's the secret that most people don't realize. These companies don't actually need to sell you more devices to keep growing. In fact, they could stop innovating in hardware tomorrow and still keep printing money. How? By building systems that monetize the world in ways you barely notice. Apple, Microsoft, and Google have designed invisible money machines that run in the background of your daily life. And that's how they've become some of the richest and most powerful companies in history. Today, we're going to break down exactly how they do it. Part 1. Apple, the hidden tax on the internet. Apple is famous for the iPhone, but here's the truth. People are keeping their phones longer. A new iPhone every year isn't as exciting anymore. So how does Apple keep making more money? By charging what's basically a hidden tax on the digital economy. Take the App Store. Every time you download an app, whether it's Tinder, Candy Crush, or Spotify, Apple takes a cut. Developers pay between 15% and 30% of their revenue straight to Apple. That means when you subscribe to a $10 app, Apple is quietly pocketing up to $3 of that every month. Multiply that across millions of apps and billions of transactions, and it adds up to an empire. In 2023, analysts estimated that the App Store facilitated $1.1 trillion in sales and billings. Apple doesn't take all of that, but the portion it keeps is still tens of billions of dollars a year. And the genius of this system is that Apple doesn't have to lift a finger. They just control the toll booth, and anyone who wants to be on the iPhone has to pay rent. Then there's Apple Pay. Every time you double-tap your phone to buy coffee or groceries, Apple takes a tiny fee from the bank handling that transaction. The cut is small, just a fraction of a percent. But with over 550 million Apple Pay users worldwide, those fractions turn into billions. And here's one of the biggest hidden deals in tech. Google pays Apple around $20 billion every single year just to be the default search engine on iPhones. That's right. Google basically funds Apple's profits just to make sure you don't switch to Bing. Think about that. Apple makes more money from that one deal than most tech companies make in total revenue. Apple doesn't need to convince you to buy a new iPhone every year anymore. They've turned the iPhone into a toll road where every app, every payment, every search sends money flowing back to them. Part 2. Microsoft, the Internet's landlord. Microsoft has gone through one of the most successful reinventions in business history. In the 90s, their money came from selling boxed software. You bought Windows, you bought Office, and Microsoft was happy. But that market maxed out a long time ago. So instead of chasing hardware, Microsoft became the landlord of the internet. The biggest piece of that is Azure, their cloud computing business. Think of Azure as the hidden foundation beneath the apps you use every day. Netflix, Spotify, LinkedIn, parts of TikTok, even government systems, they all run on Microsoft servers. In 2023, Azure alone pulled in over $100 billion in revenue. To put that in perspective, that's more than McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Nike combined. And most people don't even realize they're using it. Microsoft is making money in the background every time you stream, shop, or play online. Speaking of games, while Sony and Nintendo fight over who sells more consoles, Microsoft took a completely different path. They bought Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. That gave them ownership of Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Candy Crush, some of the most profitable game franchises ever made. This means Microsoft doesn't just make money when you buy an Xbox. They make money when anyone, anywhere, plays those games, whether it's on PC, PlayStation, or mobile. And don't forget LinkedIn. It's easy to overlook, but LinkedIn has become a massive business, generating over $15 billion a year in revenue. That's bigger than Spotify, bigger than Twitter, and bigger than most people realize. The strategy here is clear. Microsoft doesn't care if you buy their devices. They own the infrastructure and the digital real estate that everything else depends on. Part 3. Google, printing money from attention. Google might be the clearest example of how to make billions without selling hardware. The Pixel phone, niche. Chromebooks, a side project. The real empire is advertising. In 2023, Google made around $175 billion from ads alone. That's more than the GDP of countries like Hungary or Ukraine. Here's how it works. Every search you do, every YouTube video you watch, every banner ad you see across the web, Google is taking a cut, and because they own the platforms with the most eyeballs, they can charge premium prices. But ads are just part of the story. Google has also built its own invisible money machine in cloud computing. Google Cloud brought in $33 billion in 2023, and it's growing fast. Then there are enterprise tools. Businesses all over the world pay for Gmail, Google Docs, and Google Drive. Schools pay for Chromebooks. Companies pay for Google Maps API access. Even Uber pays Google to keep their maps running. And the wildest part? You don't even have to buy anything for Google to make money off you. As long as you're paying attention, clicking, scrolling, watching, Google is cashing in. That's why people call Google a company that prints money with your attention. Part 4. The strategy: escaping the device trap. Selling hardware is risky. Devices have life cycles. A bad product year can tank revenue. Consumers might hold on to their gadgets longer or switch brands entirely. That's why Apple, Microsoft, and Google built models that don't depend on pushing devices. Apple doesn't just sell you a phone, they charge rent on everything that happens on it: apps, payments, and even the search bar. Microsoft doesn't just sell Windows, they own the servers running the internet, the games people can't stop playing, and the professional network everyone relies on. Google doesn't just sell Pixel phones, they've mastered the art of monetizing human attention itself. This is the genius of their strategy. The device is just a Trojan horse. The real money is in the invisible systems that scale endlessly, no matter how many iPhones, PCs, or Chromebooks get sold. Part 5. The future. And it's not just these three companies. Amazon makes most of its profit from AWS Cloud, not from selling you packages. Tesla wants to make money from software upgrades, data, and charging networks, not just cars. Meta is building a metaverse where every second of your attention becomes monetizable. The lesson is clear. The hardware you buy is just the entry ticket. The ecosystem, the infrastructure, the data, that's where the real money is. So next time you pick up your phone, open your laptop, or search for something online, remember this. The device in your hand isn't what's making these companies rich. The invisible systems around it are. That's how Apple, Microsoft, and Google keep making billions without selling more devices. If you liked this breakdown, hit subscribe. I break down real business models, underrated strategies, and billion-dollar ideas every single week. See you in the next one.